All right, y'all, welcome to one of my favorite happy places. Being out in the forest, out in the woods, in nature. We're going into that season, or we're in that season now, where Earth is starting to come alive. And this is a golden opportunity of sorts, not just for me personally, but for all of us who are exposed to this kind of blossoming of nature. But in any case, big shout out to everybody who's been following me on Tribe by Noir, those of you who've been tuning in consistently on a weekly basis, soaking in the information, making the life changes you need to make. For those of you who are new, this is Tribe by Noir. I am Remsen Noir, head coach at Tribe by Noir. And everything that I do here, everything that I discuss, is all about deploying nutrition, training, and mindset techniques and strategies in order to achieve peak health, to live the life you really truly want to live and be in the body that allows you to do that. Whatever reaching peak health looks like for you. I'm here to provide the support and everything that I've learned in order to help you get there. This is what this is all about. I wanted to take some time out real quick to let y'all know that Tribe by Noir 3.0 has launched. This is the latest iteration with all the improvements, taking things on the platform to the next level. Not only do I provide training, diet plans, coaching calls, one-on-one coaching support, group coaching support, and all that, but I'm also offering community. Now, I do live streams for the public on a weekly basis, but that's not the only one. I also do member exclusive live streams. We go over meal planning. We get deep into training technique, how to maximize your training to get the goals that you want, right? We get pretty granular in those kind of streams. And it's a live call-in, right? So you can get on the voice chat, ask questions. We do a Q&A and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of support and camaraderie and valuable information that you can use from day one. So if that's something that you're interested in getting into, you want to take it to the next level, you want to get deeper into Tribe by Noir, well, I left a link in the description of this video for you to go and tap in and get started. Now, you can sign up and become a community member, you can sign up for coaching, and you can sign up for coaching with your own personal diet and training plans, as well as weekly one-on-one coaching calls with me personally. All right, so definitely take some time to check that out. And moving forward, we're going to get into the upcoming live stream. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. Well, we got people talking about smoothies and stuff in here. What we talking about? Smoothie blended greens, frozen fruit, vegetables versus juicing. Then we need the fiber. Blending is easy, and blending is easier than cleaning up the juicer. All right, yeah, I can tap into that a little bit. So yeah, basically we're talking about juicing. The thing is, juicing, the reason why you would juice is because you want whatever you're juicing, you want the nutrients of that food to hit your bloodstream as fast as possible. So when you remove the fiber, you increase absorption and you remove the time that it takes for it to move through a digestive process and hit your bloodstream and be absorbed by your cells, right? So that's the reason for that. So juicing specifically is for that reason. It's a way of bypassing digestive difficulties and things like that, right? And if you want like a quick hit and maximum absorption of any given nutrient or variety of different nutrients from the foods that you're deciding to juice. Blending, basically you're just kind of liquefying a food where you're breaking up the fiber enough to the point where the water and the nutrient contents is being released, it's being unlocked from the fiber. So with plant-based foods, the more you break up the fiber releases the water content of the food. And so as you break up that fiber, it becomes softer, it becomes more liquefied and that kind of thing. So that's why the fiber traps not just the nutrients, but the water content of the food, right? So plant-based foods are like a lockbox, right? And so the cell wall that we call the fiber is the thing that locks in the nutrients and the structure of the food. That's the fiber holds it together. So when you break down the fiber, that's why it breaks down into like a pudding kind of texture or a smoothie or something like this. It breaks down and loses its molecular structure in that way, right? So that's why. So blending, you don't really get rid of the fiber when you blend, it just breaks it up. And so the nutrients in the food becomes more available, but you're not stripping away all the fiber, right? So that's pretty much the reason why that is. So we got ones in the chat. Y'all can hear me clearly. There we go. Ella, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Miss Donna, the Moon Goddess, what is going on? Good to see you. Yeah, let me know if you logged into the new platform yet. Y'all saw that intro video? I mean, so you know that's how we're doing Tribe by Noir 3.0, right? So I had to drop that, let y'all know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? This is version 3 of Tribe by Noir. So we're scaling up, we're upgrading, and really growing the community. All right. Infinity Brittany, what's going on? On day 8 of my raw vegan diet. Love it here. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Day 8. You got to share your experiences and your successes so far. All right. Anishka, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Absolutely. We got my mama in the stream here. What's going on? How you doing? Big shout out to you. All right. We got Camille in here. What's going on? Good to see you. Cali girl, what's going on? How you doing? All right, look at that. All my favorite folks is popping in here. What's going on? Vegan Knowledge JJ, what's going on? Good to see you in here. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Who else we got in here? All right, Kevin. That's the first time I've seen Kevin spelled with where you take off the I and put an E, so it's Kevin. It's Keven. I like that spelling. Yes, look at all the ones coming in the chat. We like that. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all hear me loud and clear. All right. Oh, let's see another one here. If you have insulin resistance, though, isn't smoothies better since sugar is slowed by fiber? Not really, no. So basically the fiber can slow down the rate at which the glucose hits your bloodstream, but it doesn't necessarily like make your insulin resistance worse. It actually improves insulin resistance, right? So your blood sugar may increase faster, but it also comes down faster, right? So, you know, I've had people who are diabetics have a lot of experience with diabetes. And it's really interesting because when you do the juicing, your blood sugar actually comes down faster when you juice, right? So juicing is actually very beneficial for people who are diabetic, right? Especially if you have like gut health issues that can cause you like digestive discomfort and things like that. Juicing can actually be a benefit. So it's not exactly that cut and dry. That's a good question though. You said the intro was dope. I appreciate that. That's right. I was in the woods today. That was a huge mistake. Congratulations on the new 3.0 upgrade. Thank you. Appreciate that. I was in the woods today. I have recorded that video today, right? And yesterday, it rained a lot yesterday. So, in this particular area where I am in the woods, it's not like a paved trail, okay? So basically we got a lot of rain yesterday. So there's all this water flowing and everything like that. It's absolutely beautiful out there. The problem is the mud. It's just mud everywhere, right? So my boots are like super dirty right now, right? So I gotta get like a new pair of boots because these things are getting beat up. I'm still gonna wear them, but they're a little, you know, I try to get every last drop of durability out of the boots before I got to change them out. But yeah, it was hella muddy out there. But the thing is that like, the thing I like about it is when it's like overcast and it's kind of cloudy out, because it was even raining a bit today too. So the rain has been like off and on. It's never really stopped. So it's muddy out there. But the cool thing is the fact that nobody's out there because of the rain, right? So I get like the whole place to myself, so to speak. But the lighting, like everything looks super, super green. Like when it's really, really sunny out, there's a bit of like a yellow kind of golden tinge to everything, right? And when the sun shines through, it's like real, real bright. But like when the lighting is mild, it's like this overcast lighting, it's kind of cloudy, but not really. You get this even disbursement of light. So it creates like a really pleasant and chill environment. And it's just like super green everywhere. And like all the leaves look like really, really green and soft. It's insane looking out there, right? It's like majestic. It looks like magic coming off the trees. It is crazy, right? So it just looked really nice out there. Everything looks so green. Like the moss, and then you see like the mushrooms growing out the side of like fallen trees and all of this type of stuff. It's mythical. Leaves popping up out of the ground. And so the thing, like I walk through the woods like all time of year. Winter, fall, spring, summer. And when the forest starts coming alive and like all of the foliage starts coming in, it's like overnight. It's insane. So like I remember walking through the woods and the trees are bare. So everything looks like brown. It's just wood, right? It's just tree bark. Like everything's dead. There's no green anything. We had like a few days of rain. I'm back out there the next day and it's green popping up. You see like this little, you see it coming in. And then like a day or two later, boom, big explosion of green. It's crazy. It just comes out of nowhere in like a week. It's insane how fast it comes alive. It's nutty. So, but anyways, I could go on and on about it. Let's see. Thank you. Can you share if you take supplements and do you recommend any specific ones? So yeah, I take vitamin D3, creatine, glutamine. I'll put taurine in my juices. What else? I take zinc probably a couple times a week. What else? Outside of that, not really. Occasionally I'll take like B complex drops. I do that like once or twice a week. As far as the supplements that I need or that I feel I need, it would probably be vitamin D3. That's like the one supplement. I can get rid of like all the other supplements because those are not necessary. The one that's probably the most necessary though is the vitamin D3. I experiment with like the other stuff, right? It's like the taurine, it's not necessary, but I like to experiment with it because I like to make like my own energy drink sometimes. For like if I'm fasting, I have like guarana powder, which is like just straight caffeine. And then I'll put the guarana powder, taurine, and like citrulline malate in a drink instead of buying like an energy drink like a Monster or a Red Bull or something like that. I don't do that. I'd rather just make my own. Or like sometimes if I'm doing a pre-workout juice, I'll juice like grapefruit or I'll juice pineapple or something like that. Or I'll juice like tangerines and grapes and things like this. Or I'll juice cantaloupe and I'll put citrulline and taurine in that. And I'll drink that like before a workout, right? That kind of thing. So it depends. It's not essential. It's beneficial, but not essential. So the most essential thing would probably be the D3. But going into spring and heading into summer, I'm gonna be getting a lot more sun exposure, so I don't really need to take vitamin D3 at all because I'll be spending a lot more time outside. So there's that. The zinc supplementation is actually really good to do if you have more of a fruit-based diet where it's like your diet is basically like 90% fruit. If your diet is like 90% fruit, you probably, as a woman, it's easier to hit like your zinc Because for a woman, as far as zinc is concerned, you need about like 8 milligrams a day or something like this. For men, it's more along the lines of like 11 to 13 milligrams. So like if you're doing like a fruit-based diet or something like that, you may be short on the zinc because there's not much zinc in fruit. So you can either do like nuts and seeds to make up your zinc, and your leafy green vegetables, and that's where you get most of your zinc from. But if you're still kind of coming up a little short, you may want to supplement with like 15 or 30 milligrams of zinc percolinate. Right, so that's an option there as well. All right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Likewise, appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. But what do we got to talk about today? We got to talk about how to accurately track progress, right? I can't speak about this enough, okay? When it comes to weight loss, weight gain, this type of thing, the number on the scale is important, but it's not as important as people think it is, right? And that's important to know in order to properly manage your expectations, okay? I just got a message before going on stream today, right? I just had somebody, they just joined the tribe, they just signed up for coaching. I made them a diet plan and all that type of stuff, right? We're doing the weekly calls and everything. And they've completed a full week and they're down like 9 pounds, right? So it can happen pretty quickly. Now, it's not like a crash diet where I have them like in they barely eat. It's not that. I actually put an abundance of food on the diet plan, so it's not that. That kind of weight loss is a result of detoxification, right? Because the thing is that your body holds weight for different reasons. It's important to understand the reason. So if you're trying to do something like weight loss, calories is not really as important as you think. People keep saying it's calories in, calories out, and it's not, right? There's some nuance because it's easy to think that it's calories in, calories out, because here's how it works. It's a hormonal process, mainly. It's not really a calories thing. The calories are not really as relevant as people think. So here's what I mean. So basically, in order for your body to drop body fat, what does your body need to do? Well, first of all, your blood sugar needs to be able to come down low enough in order to trigger fat metabolism, okay? If you're in a caloric deficit, right, and your blood sugar is always really high, you'll barely drop any weight, if anything at all, because your blood sugar is too high. So your body doesn't really engage in a significant amount of something called lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat to use it for energy. So fat has to be converted into glucose for that to be used for energy. If your blood sugar is high, this disincentivizes your body from going through the process of taking fat and converting it into glucose. Because why would your body take fat converted into glucose to dump it into your bloodstream if your blood sugar is already very, very, very elevated anyway? Right? So your body is only going to make more glucose when your blood sugar is low. That has nothing to do with calories. I've had diabetics where in the middle of a fast, where they fast for like a full 24 hours and their blood sugar is high throughout the entire 24 hours. And when I say high, I mean like 210, 180, 240, like crazy numbers during a fast, right? So there's a bit of nuance, it's hormonal signaling. And that's what I mean by that. Now, not everybody works that way, okay? So here's what I mean by that. If you cut your food intake, well, it depends on what you're eating less of. So people will say, oh, just a caloric deficit. So caloric deficit means you're eating less. The question then becomes eating less of what, right? So we know that a large portion of your body's weight is water. Most of your body's weight is water, right? You got like 80% or something like this of your body's made of water. Water is stored inside your body, binded to glucose molecules in the form of glycogen, right? So for every molecule of glycogen is 3 molecules of water that binds to it, and it gets held inside your cells, right? So glycogen is basically a cluster of glucose molecules. Glucose comes from carbohydrates primarily, as far as like food is concerned. So when you eat carbohydrates, the carbohydrates break down into glucose. The glucose gets sent and stored inside your cells in the form of glycogen, and that gets paired up with that water at that 3-to-1 ratio. So when you eat more carbs, you gain more water weight. Now people say, well, I don't want to gain more water weight. Well, water weight is not bad. Water weight is beneficial to a degree, right? But you need some form of water weight. You don't want to just deplete all your water weight, because basically that's just a form of dehydration, which causes metabolic and hormonal problems if you drop too much water weight, right? And it's very fatiguing. You can feel very tired. You get vicious food cravings, all this type of stuff. Your blood sugar then becomes even more ramped up. You can become more insulin resistant, etc. So it's not like a cut and dry, I just want to drop as much water weight as possible. No, you don't. You don't really want to do that, right? So people will say, I'm gonna do a calorie deficit, and they cut their carbs. And then they lose weight. And they're like, oh, you see, when I cut carbs, I lose weight. Yeah, you lost water weight, you're just more dehydrated. But then you have to ask the question, is my goal to drop water weight, or is my goal to drop body fat? Right? Because it's not like you have a round bulbous stomach and a fupa hanging down that's just filled with water. That's not how it works. And in fact, fat is largely hydrophobic. You don't really store much water inside fat cells, right? So lipids don't really act as a vehicle to hydrate cells. It's not really how that works, right? Fat is, the scientific term for fat is lipids, right? There's like lipid, lipo, right? These type of things. That just means fat, right? So if you read a scientific study, you see lipids, they're referring to fat. Little droplets of fat, right? So if you're trying to lose weight, really what you're trying to do is drop body fat, not water weight. So what I'm a big fan of and what I advocate for is to actually, if you're gonna cut your food intake, you actually cut dietary fat and replace that with carbohydrates. Now, you won't really lose rapid weight consistently doing that, but you'll become more insulin sensitive over time. And that insulin sensitivity is what drops your blood sugar down low enough to stimulate fat metabolism. This is where you start losing body fat. You keep your water weight, you keep a healthy amount of water weight, but you're consistently cutting the body fat. It's a different thing. So when people talk about body recomposition, well, this is one primary method of doing it. So instead of just having your diet in the service of dropping body water, you're dropping body fat instead. It's a different thing. And this is why we have to talk about accurately tracking progress. Because water weight, that can swing back and forth, right? So you can be 3 pounds down today, and then tomorrow you're 2 pounds up. And then the next day you're down 4 pounds. And then the next day after that, you're back up 3 pounds, right? And then the next day after that, you're up another pound and a half. And you're like, oh my God, I'm back up to where I started. And you get discouraged. Because you're like, man, I dropped 3 pounds, but now I'm up 4.5 pounds. I was doing so well, what happened? So when you think about it in those terms, you get freaked out, frustrated, you get kind of panic a little bit. Oh no, I'm not really getting the progress. I'm losing it. What am I doing, right? So this is where you got to slow down and kind of pull back from the scale a little bit and start measuring your progress with a fuller spectrum of data. So there are like digital scales that'll tell you your body fat percentage, your BMI, your lean mass weight, all of that. It gives you more numbers to know what your actual body weight is made out of. Then there's circumference measurements. All right? So One of the most important investments you could make, where is this thing? I just saw it earlier today. Is it not in here? I'm out here with my pants down. All right, so it's not in here. I don't know where it is. I just saw it earlier today. I'm looking for a tape measure. It was in here today. I don't know, maybe she took it. Let me see. All right, well, I wanted to show. Oh man, this is gonna bother me now. I don't like losing things. Maybe it's in the bathroom, but I'm not gonna go in the bathroom and get it. All right. I had a tape measure. I wanted to basically measure with a tape measure, as give a demonstration of that. But in any case, a tape measure is where you can do circumference measurements, right? So you can do across the shoulders, you can do across the chest, you can do across the torso here, the waist, where you can go slightly above the belly button, like right above the belly button to measure the waist, right? You go right across the hip bone, right? So right where the head of your femur inserts into your hip, and you measure around that, the widest part of your hips, in your butt, so you measure around there. The thigh, I typically measure higher up on the thigh, the widest part of the thigh, right? So that's where you get in like the adductor, that inner thigh meat, right across there. So I measure right across there. So you get those circumference measurements, right? And then of course, you can even get more granular, where you can measure your neck and then measure across your forehead, right? You measure across your forehead, that measurement not gonna change that much, but so basically, the most important measurements for measuring your body fat is primarily going to be the waist measurement. All right, that's gonna be the waist measurement, that's gonna be the measurement that swings the most. If you're dropping inches around the waist, that shows improved gut health, reduced inflammation, and a reduction in body fat. If you want to know if you're dropping body fat, that measurement is going to be the primary way to know that. When you want to accurately track muscle mass gain, that's going to primarily be across the hips and across the chest. For women, measuring muscle mass is going to be more so across the hips. Across the chest is a little different. The reason why is because breasts and back fat, right? So it's a bit different, it skews the number a bit. So for men, it's gonna be more so across the chest and across the hips. Women primarily, it's gonna be across the hips. The thigh measurement is gonna be kind of skewed because as you drop body fat, your thighs also come down as well, right? So for women, it's a bit different. Men don't really store much body fat in the arms. So the movement in the scale is not going to swing that much as far as the arms are concerned. But universally, body fat, if you want to know, is checking the waist measurement, and then muscle mass is going to be chest and hips. You can measure your arms, you can measure your thighs. Arms don't really grow that much. It takes a really long time for your arms to grow, and it takes a really long time for your thighs to grow. So if you're going to do circumference measurement, you have to have a longer time horizon if you're going to be measuring lean mass gains. So basically you have to measure that like month to month. So you can drop body fat way quicker than you can build muscle mass, right? And the reason why is because fat, number one, is an organ, and fat, number two, is an auxiliary source of energy. Auxiliary means it's like secondary, right? You don't want it to be tertiary, which is like a third order, right? You don't want that. So these are like the primary ways. So if you really want to measure muscle growth, it's going to be strength gains. So if you really want to measure your muscle mass growth, you either have to do it through circumference measurements or you have to do it through strength gains. All right. It takes a long time for it to show up in the mirror. And the reason why is because in order to really see muscle mass increase, it has to be accommodated with the drop in body fat. Now, the more body fat you have on you, the harder it's going to be to gain muscle mass, right? And the reason why is because your body is going to be more resistant to building muscle mass if your body fat is higher, right? As your body fat increases, testosterone gets aromatized and converts into estrogen at a higher rate. If your body fat is high, blood oxygenation is going to be reduced, which is going to negatively affect your mitochondria, right? And the actual metabolic processes of skeletal muscles. So it's easier to slip into a catabolic state and have more muscle breakdown as a result of insulin resistance. And then number 3, myostatin. Body fat increases, myostatin increases. Myostatin basically is negatively correlated to muscle mass gain. So high myostatin equals lower rates of muscle growth. Lower myostatin leads to higher rates of muscle growth, right? So the first order thing is to improve your metabolic health as much as possible and really get the body fat off. And in that process, muscle mass will grow. But the closer you get to your ideal body fat percentage, that's when you can really start to focus and lean in to building muscle mass, right? So people do this thing where it's like, I'm a bulk and build muscle first and then cut. That's backwards. Because when you cut, there's gonna be a lot of things that you have to sacrifice. You're gonna shrink down. You're gonna get in your head about losing weight. You're gonna look skinnier. You're gonna get that weird, awkward in-between phase where you wanna go back to putting on weight because you lost too much weight. You look skinny now. This whole thing, it messes with you. So with muscle mass, your muscle size is largely dictated by hydration and carbohydrate consumption. If you cut your carbohydrates, this will shrink muscle mass, period. You're eating less carbs, you'll have less muscle volume. Your muscles won't be as full, it'll be kind of flat, right? So this is another reason why I'm against carb cutting generally. I don't advise it. It would make more sense to cut your fats, right? And increase your carbohydrates, right? Because now you get more bang for your buck as far as improving your insulin sensitivity. So there's that, right? So measuring accurately, if you really focus on a few things, you want to get the most results from the least amount of work, right? So you literally like working smarter, not harder, right? So in terms of like exercise, it's not that hard to build muscle mass. It's really not, right? If you're like a deconditioned person, you're very out of shape, it doesn't take a lot for you to build muscle mass because your body wants to put it on because it increases your survival rates. However, this depends on stress levels. So your first order thing, if you want to build muscle mass or drop body fat, get better with stress management. If you go to bed earlier, you get better sleep quality, you stay hydrated, and you have a largely antioxidant-rich diet, this goes a long way towards both increasing your ability to build muscle mass and dropping body fat. It does both. Okay, if you pursue a body transformation with poor stress management, you're gonna get very marginal returns. It's gonna be very, very frustrating. All right. Training doesn't have to be that frequent. You can do it 2-3 times a week. Some of you're going through so much stress, you may just want to train once a week. When I say train, I mean resistance training, hard, intense resistance training. If you're gonna do that, you only really need to do it like once or twice a week until you get better with stress management. But stress management has to be locked in first. You don't want to be insanely stressed and then be cutting your food intake and putting on more exercise and doing all you know. Does that work? It can, but it's risky because it's not sustainable. Everybody capitulates to stress. Right? The number one reason why people don't successfully achieve the body transformation they want is because they capitulate to the stress. Creating a body transformation is more of a long-term project. It'll take you like at least a year, right? Within a year, your average person taking a more conservative approach can drop like 40 pounds of body fat in a year. You have to take a more aggressive approach if you're looking to get to drop like around 80 to 100 pounds within a year, right? However, the aggressive approach doesn't work if your stress management is poor. This is the thing. So most people who have to lose like 80, 100 plus pounds, they fail at doing it because they have to take the aggressive approach, but the stress management is not there. And you need both. You need the stress management and the aggressive approach. The aggressive approach doesn't work with poor stress management. It doesn't. Because psychologically, most people can't handle it. It messes you up psychologically. It's really hard on your mind. Right? I did a short earlier where I was talking about, like, you see like a lot of fitness influencers and super lean, striated, phenomenal looking. But behind the scenes, they feel like garbage. They don't feel well. Sometimes some of them, they get honest and they talk about it. Like, yeah, I didn't feel good. You have women like, I missed my period. I wasn't sleeping well. I had heart palpitations, all type of stuff, right? They'll tell you about it. And then like they'll get on the thicker side. They'll start eating more because they want to feel better, right? So like their first few years in their fitness journey, they're like super ripped and striated abs and everything is about being lean and having abs and all this type of stuff. And then they have like a brand pivot where they start talking more about wellness and self-care. Y'all seen this. Y'all have seen this, right? And typically what happens is for the female fitness influencers, they get more into like self-love and self-acceptance and all of this type of stuff, and they have a brand pivot. And then the guys, it's like, I'm going plant-based, right? I want to focus more so on wellness and flexibility and do a plant-based diet and blah, 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 right? You'll see that a lot. And then they talk about other bodybuilders, you know, having health problems and bubble guts and dying, you know, at like 40 from heart attacks. Because, yeah, you know, look, the journey to like have that kind of look, it's hard to sustain it if you're gonna have this aggressive approach and try to be on just all year round for years, right? The stress management, if you're poor with the stress management, it'll blow up on you. So getting back into accurately tracking, there's a few things that are more important, and these are the first signs that you're on the right track, and it's how you feel first, because you start to feel better before you look better. Better sleep quality, you feel less thirsty, right? When you're like diabetic or like pre-diabetic, you're constantly drinking water. You want to drink all this water, right? Because your body is trying to get you to drink more water so you can flush extra glucose out through your kidneys, right? So you're really insulin resistant, you're diabetic or something like this. All that's where that water drinking comes from. So you cut your carbohydrates, you make it worse, right? So you just chap mouth all the time. So just tired and thirsty, basically tired and thirsty, right? So, and then you do this vicious cycle where you drink a lot of water before bed because you're real thirsty, and then you're doing all this frequent nighttime urination, right? It's a beast. So you have a more hydrating diet, it kind of offsets that kind of thing, right? So better sleep quality, more mental focus, a better mood, right? More creative energy, more motivation. When you start feeling better, you get more energy. As you become more insulin sensitive, you get more motivated. You want to start doing more stuff. So a common thing I get, like when I'm coaching people, right? They're like, yeah, you know, like in the first week or the first 2 weeks, I had a lot of energy. I was sleeping really well and I was losing weight and everything was great. And then like I got deeper in and I don't know, I don't have that much energy now. Now I'm kind of a little bit more tired. And I'm like, oh, really? What have you been doing differently? Oh, I haven't done anything differently. Oh yeah? How many times a week you working out? Well, like around 4 or 5 times. When I made your training plan, I only put 3 training days in there. Yeah, well, you know, well, actually, come to think of it, I added some stuff. I started taking classes and I started taking classes at the gym, and I started going out more to the park, and I started jogging, and I started doing kickboxing, and I started doing Pilates and taking a yoga class. And then there's a pause, and it's like, oh, that's why I'm tired. I'm like super active now. Yeah, that's why you're tired. I gave you a 3-day-a-week resistance training program and you went and just dumped on like double the workload. Yeah, of course you're tired. But you have the motivation to do that now because your stress management is better and you're detoxifying your body. So now your body's giving you all these green lights and you start adding in all this other stuff. Right? So that's why it's good to have those check-ins. Because you could do this, you don't even realize you're doing it. You start fidgeting more, you start going out more, you start calling up friends, you start making plans, going places. Right? You just get real active. You just can't sit down. Yeah, I want to open another business. I want to do this. I want to do that. So, slow down. That's why you're tired. Yeah, I'm sleeping better. I'm sleeping more. I'm just tired. It's like, yeah. Because you got all of this energy, you just can't wait to blow it. Relax. Stick to the plan, right? But that's your brain chemistry changes though as you get better. The reason why this is really important is because dropping body fat is actually a fairly complex thing. It's pretty complex because you store body fat for different reasons, right? Like body fat gain is a stress mechanism. It's a stress response. So when your body's inflamed, your water retention increases and fat gain increase. Like your body holds on to fat more. Right? Like you get too much bad news in your life, you start gaining body fat, or it becomes harder to drop body fat no matter what you eat, and then it gets harder to stick to your diet. Right? It really happens like that. You get a death in the family and wake up the next morning with your belly more soft than usual, or just straight up bam, swole up. Right, just swole up here, a little food baby going on. It's just perpetual, right? And then you start eating and feeding it. We call it stress eating, right? Your brain chemistry changes. You start doing stuff, you don't even realize you're doing it. That's why it's very important. Really take account of what you've been doing. Because you just be doing stuff. You'd be eating stuff, just putting stuff in. You don't even realize you're doing it, right? So stress management, toxicity, your body will hold on to fat and use it as a buffer to trap toxins and pull toxins out of your bloodstream, right? So heavy metals, plastics, food colorings, all different types of excess estrogen in like dairy or cheese or whatever, meats, whatever it is, right? Just environmental poisoning, food poisoning, this type of thing. Your body will increase fat, especially around your midline, to pull toxins out of your bloodstream. So your fat cells will store toxins. So you have subcutaneous fat and visceral fat primarily. Your visceral fat is the fat that's right on top of your organs in your midline, right? And that's like a buffer. It's a protective mechanism. It literally serves as like a padding, like a buffer between your vital organs and your bloodstream and whatever toxins, right? If your visceral fat drops too low, you can actually die from that. It's very dangerous to have excessively low visceral fat because it's a buffer. So your body will increase the size of that buffer the more toxicity there is, right? Because if you're dealing with all type of toxicity and stress, your body isn't going to be in a rush to let go of the body fat because that's like you're getting rid of like this defensive layer. It's not going to happen, right? You can tell how much toxicity and stress a person is dealing with by the shape of their body, right? And you can see like hormonal imbalances, you can see food poisoning, you can see it in like you can see it in your skin with like hyperpigmentation and patchiness and dry skin, things like this. And then you can see it like, let's say you have a woman who is, all of her body fat is in the midsection and then her legs and arms are skinny. Or like her legs are skinny and then her arms and like she's like real top heavy. Right? That's a massive amount of like stress and trauma. She's been through like hell. She's been through a lot of stuff. She's shaped like that. Because that's a stress response. That's like hormonal instability, all types of stuff, right? That's like massive problems. If you see like a fairly small waist, but like crazy hips and thighs and arms and all of that, right? Like the lunch lady arm thing going on, where it's just a lot of body fat stored in the arms, legs, hips, huge breasts, but like the waist isn't crazy and it's kind of like tucked in. Not, there's like a little fupa towards the bottom. That's like excess estrogen, right? Which, if you do have that, you have that estrogen imbalance, you're kind of lucky because that's saving your life. Right? That's like a response to environmental conditions, internally as well as externally. And your gut health hasn't blown up on you yet to the point where, like, you know, you're just going to start expanding and getting gassy and bulbous all in here, right? And that can change as you get older. So that's like a momentary thing. You gotta be careful with that, because that's, you know, it can go either way. That's like more of like a genetic thing, and it depends on your gut health. Improving your gut health will flatten your stomach, right? Improving your gut health will flatten your stomach for sure. So accurately tracking your progress, I'm going into a lot of details, but I'm basically talking about things that are not revolved around the scale or circumference measurements, because your body gives you these green lights of how you feel. You want to really get the green lights of how you feel. If you don't feel well, don't run yourself ragged with crazy workouts. Don't do that. The best type of exercise you can do to drop body fat is walking. Go for a walk or like a chill bike ride or something like this. You don't have to do like intense workouts. And in fact, you shouldn't really do intense prolonged workouts if you're dealing with poor stress management and poor sleep quality and all that. You just make it worse. All right. So these are some of the primary ways to accurately track your progress, right? Now, as far as managing expectations, it takes, when we're talking about like gaining muscle mass, you can gain anywhere from, like, men gain like around 1.5 pounds a month in lean mass, if you're like super diligent. But if you gain 8 pounds of lean mass, you don't really notice it much. It's not like a significant difference, unless like you've been training, like, yeah, you'll have guys where they primarily just train their upper body, right? So they'd be like, man, you blow up quick, you gain all of this muscle mass. Look at his arms, it's got so much bigger. And then, you know, but the legs are skinny, right? So they'd be wearing these baggy, loose clothes and shorts all the time, right? Because they ain't built their legs. But if you evenly train your body, it's not going to make that much of a difference, right? So basically, the best way to accurately track your progress is your strength gains. If you're getting stronger, chances are you're gaining muscle mass. It's very highly unlikely that you're getting stronger and not gaining muscle mass, right? Oh, you're definitely not losing muscle mass. If you're getting weaker, it could be that you're losing muscle mass, maybe, but it could also, it's tricky, because just because you're getting, like, if you're not performing as well, you're not really exhibiting the kind of strength that you did the previous week, it doesn't mean you're losing muscle mass. You're more than likely, your nervous system hasn't recovered, right? That's a sign to reduce your training frequency and put on more rest days. So I had a guy, or not had a guy, right? He's in my 12-week mentorship. And what I told him to do is I said, yeah, take like 4 days off from training. Even like 4 to 7 days off. Just take off 4 to 7 days. And he's like, really? Don't train for the whole week? But isn't that gonna, like, I'm gonna come back weaker because I haven't been training, I'm getting deconditioned? Like, no, it takes like 3-4 weeks or something like this to really get deconditioned. It's highly unlikely. But if you're training and your performance is getting worse or just stagnant as you're frequently training, that means you got to back off. Your nervous system's not recovering. If you stall out in your strength progress, back off, right? Because your strength should continuously keep increasing. If it's not increasing, you back off. Let your nervous system recover. So he did what I told him to do. He took off a whole week. He came back the following week and he was like, yo, my strength, it doubled. That's crazy. Yeah. Right? You can train Monday, Friday. Right? You can train every 3 days, right? You train, you take off 1, 2, 3, and then you train, you take off 1, 2, 3, and then you train, take off 1, 2, 3. You don't have to train that frequently because your nervous system has to recover. You can't force your body to grow more muscle because that's governed by your nervous system. And the more and more and more your nervous system gets run down, the more likely you're going to get poor sleep quality, you're going to gain body fat, and you're either going to not gain any muscle or even lose muscle. Okay, because of the stress management thing. You run your nervous system down, that's poor stress management. You start waking up, you don't have like nocturnal erections, you're waking up soft. If you're waking up soft, you're not having the nocturnal erections, back off. Stress management has to be the priority. Back off, you're doing too much. Don't wake up soft every morning, not getting no nocturnal erections, and you're just running yourself, trying to change your body. You gotta be a little bit more humble and ease off, trust the process. Stress management is always like the #1 priority. Right? It's like digging a hole. You gotta dig a real deep hole. You can't just, and not take no breaks. You throw your back out. Lock in your technique, pace yourself. It's a marathon. So if you run a marathon and you're gonna come out the gate full speed, you're gonna burn out real quick. You're not gonna be able to finish. Right? So pacing. The rate of muscle gain does not depend on how many times you train. The only thing that matters is how well you recover from when you train. Right? I can have 100% of my effort concentrated into 1 to 2 sessions, or I can have 6 sessions in the week and spread out 100% of my effort throughout the 6 sessions. Same amount of effort requires the same amount of recovery. It's a crude way to explain it, but that's a good way to illustrate that point. Running yourself ragged doesn't really yield results. It can, but it doesn't really. Right? You typically get injured first. Right? This is the last point I'll make, and I'll get back into these questions, right? Weight loss. Weight loss is a fascinating thing because it's very poorly understood. It's a lot more complex than people give it credit for. Because the more body fat you drop, the more resistant to reduction in body fat your body becomes. I spoke about this when I was talking about resistance. Right? Respect resistance. I did a stream about this. Right? The deeper in you get, the more resistant you become. And so you gotta respect that resistance and back off. Typically, like if you've dropped like 80 to 100 pounds, the next 80 pounds is like twice as hard or 4 times as hard. It's a real grind. You can drop like 10, 20 pounds, 30 pounds in your first month, and then the next month after that, it's like 3 pounds a month. And you're like, what the hell? I done lost all of this weight super quick. What the hell happened? Look, it's not linear. Your body becomes resistant, right? But when we're talking about like mass weight loss, big time weight loss, I mean, you got to drop like 200 pounds or something like this. You can drop like a good 80 to 100 pounds in your first year. If you adequately detoxify your body and get a hold on your stress management and optimize for insulin sensitivity. And this is where like a high raw diet is like really good for that. Right? So if you need to drop that much body fat, one thing you cannot do is overestimate how much protein you need in your diet. Because increasing the amount of protein that you eat, it slows down body fat reductions. You may hear me say that and be like, I heard the opposite my whole entire life. People tell me if I want to lose weight, I got to eat more protein. Protein typically is the building blocks of new cells. If you're trying to drop body fat, you're trying to do the opposite. You're not trying to build new cells. You're trying to break down cells. And a large part of what you're trying to do is a breakdown of cells. The same amino acids that build muscle also increase fat. They trigger both. When people talk about increasing protein, they're not just talking about keeping everything else in your diet the same and tacking on more protein. That's not what they mean. And I wish people would be more accurate about this when they talk about this, because it gives people a false impression. If you're eating 500 grams of carbs a day, right? But you're only eating 40 grams of protein a day, right? Somebody else says, no, actually, you know what you need to do? You need to eat 100 grams of protein a day, but only 120 grams of carbs a day. Well, you've significantly reduced the amount of carbohydrates you've eaten. And guess what that means? The dehydration, and that's where you get the drop on the scale. And people say, oh, wow, yeah, so increasing protein and cutting carbs really does work. No. What I just said. You're not just adding additional protein. If you keep the 500 grams of carbs and you tack on and you increase the protein by 3 to 4x the amount, you go from 40 to 80 or you go from 40 to 120, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to drop the body fat. Because nutrition is a zero-sum game, right? More of one thing is necessarily less of another. If you just add on more, well, now you're just in this overabundance. You just put more stress on your kidneys because your body doesn't store protein. It has to either use it or get rid of it. But your body's ability to use a certain amount of protein is largely dependent on what your current body makeup is, what your body composition is. So protein intake should be largely dictated by your lean mass in kilograms, not total body weight, right? Because if you have a woman who's 230 pounds and she's 5'2", versus a man who's 6'4" and 230 pounds, they're not going to eat the same amount of protein because they're both 230 pounds. So people fetishize protein and act like protein is the magic weight loss thing. Your average American who's struggling to lose weight the reason they got big on a high protein diet in the first place. And when I say high protein, I mean a diet that is at 16% or above in protein. 16% of your macros coming from protein is actually a pretty high protein diet. But if your diet is now 20, 30, 35%, 40% protein, well, in order to get there, you have to significantly cut something else, right? So there's a ratio. So people have to address the ratio, right? So if you eat too much protein, this can actually cause negative effects and things. The reason why is because you're overloading. You never want to overload your body with a substance that your body can't use or get rid of effectively. Well, you could drink a lot of water, you just fill up your bladder, and then you just end up peeing a lot. With protein, it don't work like that. You eat a lot of protein, and there's a limit in how much excess protein your body can break down into simpler forms of nitrogen and get rid of. There's a time constraint on that. So you end up putting all this extra protein in your body that increases the nitrogen balance in your blood, and it stresses out your kidneys. Because having too much nitrogen basically is protein in its simplest form. Protein is made up of hydrogen, carbon, and nitrogen, right? So protein gets broken down into those three separate elements, right? And the nitrogen gets detached from the rest. And so that nitrogen, that excess nitrogen, it has to be used in order to form new cells in your body. And if there's nothing to use it for, then your body has to remove it from your blood through your kidneys. That's when you take a blood test. On your kidneys, there's something called BUN, right? It's in capital letters BUN. That's blood urine nitrogen. And this shows the level of saturation of nitrogen in your blood and how much is coming out in your urine. And they give you a numerical value for this, right? having too high of a concentration of nitrogen in your blood will kill you. It's extremely dangerous, right? So this is, you know, people who are fans of like Dr. Sebi, he often talks about like an acidic diet. When they say an acidic diet, typically what they're talking about are diets that are high in fat and protein, right? Because fat breaks down into fatty acids, protein breaks down into amino acids. And these have to be converted, and the acid has to be neutralized, and those elements have to be used, has to be recycled to use for something else. Right? So you make lipoproteins, you make EPA, DHA, you synthesize vitamin K, D, E, A, etc. Like these components get used to make other things, to make new cells, etc. You can't have high concentrations of acid floating around in your bloodstream. That will kill you. It'll tear up your liver, right? So you end up having like liver cirrhosis if this gets too out of hand, right? This song is always like super busy. It goes in, it's hard, but it's a bit too much. I mean, I hear it, it's breaking my concentration. Is my browser frozen? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Oh my God. Oh, there it goes. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me recalibrate and kind of get undistracted for a bit. All right. You having trouble hearing me clearly over the music? Yeah, I'm like, I know it's not me. I'm like, why does that sound kind of loud in my ear? So, one of the most effective ways, at least that I've found, is you just eat fruit all day and you have like the one cooked meal or a salad at the end of the day. Because most people only really need about like maybe 40 to 60 grams of protein a day, sometimes even less than that. Most people don't really need more than like 80, right? We significantly overestimate the amount of protein that a person needs in a day. So like for me, I don't really need more than 60 really. But carbohydrates is the thing that I put an emphasis on. So I'm minor in fats and minor in carbohydrates. You don't need a whole lot of that, but the carbs, yes, because it's your body's primary energy source, right? So you could do 2 pounds of bananas, maybe even 3 pounds of bananas, and have like an ounce of almonds or an ounce of Brazil nuts or pumpkin seed kernels, something like this, or an ounce of walnuts. That's a meal. You could just go right out, going about your business, enjoy your day. Later on, you have like, 4 or 5 mangoes. Right? You have 4 or 5 mangoes, and you have like an ounce of cashews or an ounce of pistachios or something like this. You're going about your day. You can just keep eating mangoes till you're full. You can have 5, 6, whatever, man. You just eat mangoes till you're full and going about your business. And then after that, you can do, let's say like a smoothie bowl. Blueberries, raspberries, kiwis, right? And just load up the bowl. Just get like a bowl, you just load it up with kiwis and a variety of different berries, things like that. You can do pomegranate seeds, all this, right? Throw some papaya in there, right? Get a big old bowl of fruits like that, and then you just like do like 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds over it. You just mix all of that in. Right? And then you can do like, let's say romaine lettuce, and you can really thinly chop romaine. And you mix that in there, right? To get some extra greens and whatnot in there. Right? And that could be like another meal. That could be your final meal of the day. It could really be that simple. And then you can do that. You can follow that kind of format. You can do that for 4 or 5 days out of the week. And then, other days out of the week where you just do the one cooked meal at the end of the day. Cook cup of chickpeas, cup and a half of chickpeas, or black beans, or pinto beans, red kidney beans, or what's that called? what's that, white northern beans, right? There's different types of beans. You can have that with leafy green vegetables, bell pepper, cucumber, whatever, right? Sweet potato, some greens, and have that as the final meal before bed, right? It's a rough outline, right? You can get a bit more granular than that, but if I had to like simplify a meal plan, that's kind of generally a good solid format. Right, so your fruits, you get all your colors, right? So violet, red, orange, yellow, green. Okay, so you color code your meals. You try to get all your colors, and you try to get all your food groups. So if you're eating fully raw, it's going to be fruits, nuts and seeds, leafy greens. You get those three, you're good. You don't necessarily need to hit every single nutrient marker every day. You don't need that. And the reason why is because your body stores all of the micronutrients that you get, and you accumulate them throughout the days and weeks. Right? Now, of course, it is circumstantial, right? So when I write diet plans, I factor in lean mass, I factor in the goals. Do you have high blood pressure? Are you diabetic? Are you trying to drop body fat? Are you trying to gain muscle mass? How much body fat do you currently have? Are you on any medications? Do you have a history of antibiotics? Digestive discomfort? So when I make diet plans, it's going to be more granular for me because I'm trying to fix a specific issue. So it's a bit different. But generally speaking, right? You can start off simple and then get a little bit more granular if you need to. Right? But basically, when you increase the amount of carbohydrates you eat, this decreases the need to have more protein in your diet. And the reason why is because you have less cellular breakdown. Right? In order to drop body fat, the only thing you really need to do in order to drop body fat is drop your blood sugar. If your fasted blood sugar, like let's say an hour and a half or 2 hours after eating is like in the 80s, yeah, that whole entire time that you're in the 80s, you're gonna be dropping body fat, right? So you can eat in abundance throughout the week. You have a high carb diet, you minor in the fats and protein, and then you have like 1 or 2 fasting days a week, 24 hours, 36 hours or something like that. You can do that on a weekly basis. And, gradually every week you get closer and closer to your goals. The human body is very, very efficient. Right? So you have to have like a longer time horizon when you think about these things. That's why people really struggle with like a raw vegan diet. Like how people do that with a raw vegan diet? Doesn't it have all kind of nutrient holes and gaps? It's like, no, not really. But a raw vegan diet is a way to really discipline you, where you're not overeating. But it's actually like real simple, right? So like, for example, right here, we got mangoes, avocados, we got a bunch of citrus fruits. We got grapefruit, pineapple, honeydew. We got bananas. This isn't even all the fruit, right? Because I have a lot more. I have apples and things like that. Like the apples are actually behind the juicer here. So we got apples. Right, we got a butternut squash and things like that, right? So we have like an abundance of fruits and things like that. Got grapes in the fridge, berries in the fridge, this type of thing. All the colors, right? So like a raw diet, I'm more like of a high raw kind of guy. I don't really swear off like legumes and things like that. I think that if something is beneficial and you don't have to go out of your way to incorporate it, but yeah, throw it in there, right? You don't have to eat beans every day. But yeah, like 2-3 times a week, yeah, you could. 4 times a week, sure. Does it have to be every day? No. It can be every day, it wouldn't hurt you. It depends, right? Maybe you have like severe kidney disease, maybe you want to be a bit more granular. It depends on what your issues are, right? But if you're trying to drop body fat, there's not really much of a reason why you need to maximize for protein. Right? Because the protein just reinforces the fat cells, right? You're better off under eating protein than overeating protein, right? Because you see, when people have like fatty liver disease, they have kidney disease, this is typically a result of eating too much protein in the diet. You don't really see metabolic illnesses as a result of people not eating enough protein. You don't really see that. I've never seen it. Nobody's come to me with health issues that stem from them not getting enough protein. I've never seen that. Right? So that's the thing to keep in mind. Let me catch up with some of y'all in these comments here. All right. Let's see. Can I have a cup of chickpeas and a cup of rice as a meal? Yeah, you could. I would add some greens or some peppers or something like that to it. But yeah, you could definitely do that as a meal, right? You can season it well. You know, add in some greens, things like that. Colleen, what's going on? We never got on that call. What happened? You had to get me caught up to speed. I've been waiting for you to show up on my calendar. Let's see, when signing up for the community membership, what are the days and times of the group chat? Group coaching calls I ask because my work schedule can differ from day to day. Yeah, I typically do Thursdays, and then this week I'm adding back Saturdays. But I also have up the replays as well. So if you can't make it live, you can always watch the replay. All right. And depending on how things shake out or what people request, because I'm gonna put polls out for the community members to add additional streams. Five foods you could never live without. That's interesting. 5 foods I could never live without. Grapes, bananas, can't live without my leafy greens, I know that. So spinach, kale, romaine, need those. Foods I can't live without. Gotta have a melon. If I don't have melon, I gotta at least have mangoes. Can't live without citrus fruits. Tangerines, mandarins, grapefruit. I mean, maybe I can live without them. I just really would rather not. So yeah, I know, that's a good question. I mean, fruit in general, I would never live anywhere where I don't have access to fruit. I'm not doing that. Nope. Right, so when people are like, hey, you should, how do you feel about living in Germany? No. What about Britain? No. No. Finland? No. Norway? No. Why? We get fruit. Yeah, you get fruit. You can. But, you know, I want to be closer to the equator. I don't want even the US right now ain't cutting it for me. I'm like, nah, I need to get closer to the equator. I need to be closer to where the fruit is grown. Yeah, I don't know. Big shout out to my folks in Germany, no shade. Yeah, I got folks in Germany and Britain and France and whatnot. Hold on, wait, you already did the call. Am I thinking about it? I'm probably thinking about a different Colleen. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about a different Colleen. Hold on a second. Now I'm kind of curious. Which Colleen am I thinking about now? I had to look at my schedule because there was somebody by the name of Colleen. I think it was a different Colleen. They kept telling me they was going to book a call. I got to figure out which Colleen was that. Because I remember, all right, well, I'll sort that out at another time. What are those droppers in the back? Okay, yeah, so this is B complex, and then this is turmeric in a liquid form. I don't really use this one. This is in mine. That's the missus. But this is, we use, both of us use this. I typically do this like once or twice a week or something like that. The turmeric is really good for inflammation. All right, let's see. Thanks for all the info. The new site is looking good. I have to catch up with your replays. I've been seeing some great topics. I have to jump off. Have a great evening. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, go ahead and jump on there and chime in the community threads of the group chat and all of that. And I got I got our past coaching calls, the recordings and whatnot, still in your personal coaching plan as well. So that stuff's still in there. Yeah, I am thirsty. Let's see, let's just hope that we can find a satisfactory solution to all the nonsense, meaning our general cleanliness. Find a satisfactory solution to all this nonsense, meaning our general cleanliness. What do you mean by that? What was I talking about? You say, hey coach, I've canceled my membership and started using resistance bands and my arms have grown so much. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would never go back to, I'll never go back. Yo, my resistance bands, that's it. I'm here to stay with that. I am locked in. Love this. Thank you for all the value every stream. Absolutely. Appreciate you for tuning in. You said I'd totally buy your recipe book or your diet guide. Oh yeah, definitely. Become a tribe member. Jump on. What do you think of the 80-10-10 approach? Yeah, I think 80-10-10, I love it. I think it's pretty solid. I don't know if I would drop fats to 10%. I would say more of like 10 to 15%. I would give that 5% wiggle room. What if you go to the gym 6 days a week on a split routine, but 3 of those days are super light for the sake of good habits? I would prefer to train more often. Yeah, so you can, right? You can train every day, but like, so for example, if you do like, you can do technique work, right? So like movement hygiene. So you're not exerting yourself. So that's fine. When I say like frequent training, I'm more of an advocate for like high intensity, 100% effort training. So you can maximize for training frequency, training volume, and training intensity. Training intensity is the effort you put into the workout. Training volume is how many sets and reps you do, how long the workout takes. Training frequency is how frequently you train. I maximize for intensity. Right, that's just for me personally, right? But if you're not maximizing for intensity, you're working on like technique stuff and that type of thing, yeah, you can train more frequently. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Do you believe sea moss is as great as society has hyped it up to be? Yeah, so the sea moss is really phenomenal stuff because it's a sea vegetable. Sea vegetables have like they're nature's multivitamin, basically. So like, does it live up to the hype? Yes, I would say so. Yeah, that sea moss is legit. Do you eat bread or wheat products? I don't really eat wheat, no. I may eat bread. Like, I haven't sworn off bread, but it's not really like a thing I have in my diet much, right? So yeah, for me, I don't really eat wheat. I don't buy anything with like wheat. I don't buy bread or anything like that. I'll eat it sometimes on a special occasion. Like, my favorite vegan pizza is like buffalo chicken pizza, right? However, like the vegan pizza thing is probably like a thing I eat like once or twice a year. I don't do it that frequently. I don't eat out much. In the crust, in the making of the crust, do they use wheat flour? I would imagine so. So it could be in there, but I mean, it's very rare for me that I eat anything with wheat. Or eat any kind of bread. It's very rare for me. Do you have to be in a caloric deficit for a body transformation? Do you have to be? Not really, no. For me personally, I never write diet plans with like deficits. I don't really particularly do that. So the way that my methodology when I write a diet plan is I calculate for macros, and it's a certain amount of grams per kilogram of lean mass. That's typically how I do it, right? Because like a calorie deficit isn't a real thing, because a calorie is a form of thermogenic energy. So you can't eat calories because you don't eat thermogenic energy. Calories is a measure of thermogenesis that implies energy expenditure. So when they say like a food contains 120 calories, it's not that it contains 120 calories, it's that it takes 120 calories of thermogenic energy in order to fully break it down. That's what that means. However, in the human body, it changes because the human body doesn't work like a gas tank. It's not really how it works, right? It's like, yeah, in a car or something like that, there's only one source of fuel to burn. A car, like a thermogenic energy engine, doesn't have a hormonal system. The human body does. If the human body was to burn calories the way that like a typical thermogenic process would, you would boil from the inside out, right? So the human energy system, people's like, oh, it's a thermogenic energy system. It's just subordinate to the laws of thermodynamics. No, it's not, right? This is the reason why hormones and you have a whole endocrine system that governs your energies. That's not true, right? Just because you put a food in doesn't necessarily mean it's going to energize you and it's going to have the same thermogenic effect. It's not true, right? So people say that and it drives me nuts because it's a wild oversimplification of the human energy system. You've got pituitary gland, thyroid, you got a hypothalamus, pancreas, you got liver, adrenal glands, kidneys. You have all these different organs that govern that whole process. And these organs aren't going to all be subordinate to whatever you ate. It doesn't work like that, right? You got carbohydrates, you got fats, you got proteins, you got hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen. That's like subordinate to hydration levels, blood oxygenation. It's like it's a really complicated thing. So like the calories thing is not, counting calories is useful information, but do you have to be that strict about it? Not really. It's like a really simple kind of baseline thing to operate in. But food choice to me is more important. I think if you prioritize food choice over like calories, you'll get much better results if you do that. Let's see, I have to make the transition to the resistance bands. Definitely going to be booking a call and signing up for the mentorship soon. Hey, let's do it. I'm with it. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. You changed the name of the channel? Raw Foods Love One Way. You changed it from Raw Vegan Love? There you go. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I recognize you. I remember faces. Let's see. How much good? Hey, let me pull it up. How much good fats do you recommend for weight loss, or do you recommend no fats until the weight is off? No, like your fats are. You don't need a lot of fat, but I wouldn't cut all of it out, right? Because you need your fats for like vitamin E absorption, vitamin A. You need fats for the synthesis of lipoproteins. You know, you need fats in order to maintain adequate levels of HDL and LDL and EPA and DHA and things like this. So, I mean, you do need fats, right? But I think as a general rule, the sustainably long-term, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm more conservative in my approach to like raw or high raw eating, right? So I'm still largely governed by the available scientific data. I don't buy into it blindly, but it largely is my leading factor. And what I find is that if you stick to anywhere from 0.5 gram to 1 gram of fat per kilogram of lean mass, or somewhere in between that, so probably like 0.75 grams of fat per kilogram of lean mass to 1 gram of fat per kilogram of lean mass, that should more or less be enough. You don't really have to cut lower than that, right? Another good pointer is with any meal that you eat, you have a maximum of like 20 grams of fat per meal. So like if you're trying to maximize insulin sensitivity, your fat source should be fiber rich, and you shouldn't really have more than like 20 grams of fat per meal. 25 is kind of pushing it, but I wouldn't go beyond 25, but I would strive to not go beyond 20. So yeah, that would be my recommendations there. Do you recommend protein powders? If so, what brands are your favorite? Yeah, you know what's interesting is I use protein powder. I don't put it in diet plans very much though. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, because for me, when I put like protein powder in my diet plan, it's like because I like making protein shakes and smoothies because I like doing it. I don't know how necessary it is, but I just like it. But in particular, for me, I use naked pea protein. I use this one. I'll show you. But there's certain things that I make that I use it. So I use, these are like the protein powders that I use. This is the peanuts. It's just my thing if I want to make a quick smoothie. So yeah, basically this is like powdered peanuts, and then this is pea protein isolate. Unflavored, just peas, and then powdered peanuts. And that's pretty much it. Real minimal, right? But I don't typically put extra protein in people's diets. I don't really do that. There's a time and place for it. I just don't particularly do it much. It's not really necessary. When I make diet plans for people, I try to make it where they don't need to put like powders and things in their diet. It's mainly just whole foods. Like anybody can get access to like, you know, lentils or chickpeas or quinoa or, you know, kasha or leafy greens, fruits, things like this, right? So I try to make diet plans where it's like, you know, there's not things on the plan that you can't get necessarily. But like the protein shake thing, it's a good fallback. Like let's say you are just doing fruits all day. You can have a protein shake in the morning and then just eat fruits for the rest of the day and then finish off the day with some leafy greens and a few ounces of like nuts and seeds and be good. All right, so you can do that also, which I will be doing on my long hiking trails. Let's see. Fiber rich meaning nuts, seeds, and avocado. Yes, the whole foods. So like I don't really do nut butters. Nut butters, that'll put some fat on you. If you get too carried away with the nut butters, that will put the body fat on you. That stick right to your ribs. Right? That nut butter goes straight to that fupa. So you're better off just eating whole nuts. All right. But yeah, Mrs. Raw Vegan Love, I don't want to put you. I don't want to. I don't want to dox you or nothing like that. So just stick to the channel name. When you gonna have me back on again? You still doing your thing on your channel? What's going on? So if you want to bring me, you know what I mean. If you want me to come back on, I'll come back on and we'll chop it up. Do you drink coffee or caffeine? I don't really do coffee, but I do have caffeine. I mentioned it earlier. Because I make my own energy drinks because I like energy drinks. A lot of this stuff I just do because I like it. I don't need it, I just like it. Guarana powder, right? So I'll do like guarana powder. This is basically just powdered caffeine. And I'll put like a quarter teaspoon, like a gram of this in water with like lime juice, citrulline, malate, and taurine, and maybe like a drop of liquid stevia. And that's how I make my energy drink. So rather than buying like a Monster or Red Bull, I don't do that. I'd rather just make my own. And so I don't buy like pre-workout powders and things like that. I don't do that. When will I know, or how soon will I notice my gut getting healthy on a raw diet? So my common experience is people start seeing results within like their first week. That's usually what happens when I put together a plan for people. It's usually within like that first week, right? To make like a full recovery of your gut health, it depends. It could be like a full recovery could be anywhere from 6 months to a year. It depends on how much damage you've done to your gut. The biggest gut health damages come from alcohol consumption. No, first of all, that's not even it. Antibiotics is number one. Number two, alcohol consumption. And number three is like fried foods and just like way too much fat and protein in a diet, on a dehydrating diet. Those are like the three things. And then also if you got a dairy allergy, you just constantly eating dairy products, cheese and whatever, that mess you up bad. I'll be getting back soon. I will check your calendar. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, reach out. Let me know. Yeah. Thoughts on adding sugar to water in smoothies before training? Adding sugar to water. I don't know if I would add sugar to water. I'd rather just make a juice. Like I have like a little juicer and it's in the dishwasher right now as I wash it, but I have like a juicer and I basically just juice fruit. So I'll juice like pineapple. I'll juice like 12 to 16 ounces of pineapple and I'll drink that as like a pre-workout rather than like adding sugar to water. Which salad dressing do you recommend? Yo, my ultimate salad dressing is a mix of nutritional yeast, spicy mustard, and agave. Yo, hey, I'll make a dip and I'll just eat greens. Just dipping it in some homemade honey mustard. It's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. You don't understand, it's so good. That honey mustard, man, that's everything for me right there. What else do I do? I also do like coconut aminos. I do coconut aminos with taco seasoning, and I like mix that in. Or I'll just do coconut aminos by itself on a salad. I'll do that. What else? With buffalo sauce. Those are my personal favorites, honestly. Ooh, and peanut sauce. Yeah, peanut sauce. That Thai peanut sauce. Oh. Especially like spicy peanut sauce. See, that's what I go with. If you worked a 9 to 5, how would you have navigated Raw all day? Yes, if I worked a 9 to 5, that would kind of be easy because I would just like pack fruit. So I would have like I would do my, what would I do? Because it depends on what my goal is. Because at work, it would be like 3 pounds of bananas or something like this. And then like an ounce of Brazil nuts, cashews, or almonds. And then my second meal would be like another fruit bowl, probably like 2 pounds of grapes. Those would be the 2 things that I ate at work. Like every day religiously. That's probably what it would be like. And then when I got home, it would be like a cooked meal. Right? So it'd be like black beans, avocado, onion, bell pepper, cucumber, leafy green vegetables. So that's probably something along, and like sunflower seed kernels and hemp seeds. That's probably more along the lines of how I would do if I had a 9 to 5. Do you eat tofu or TVP? Tofu. Yeah. I don't do TVP. She said that homemade honey mustard is legit. True. I don't need nothing else. I can do that just perpetually. Well, you said you need a good peanut sauce recipe? Let me. I'm working on that actually. I'll put my own peanut sauce recipe together. I'm not confident in it yet, so I'm not gonna flex too much right now. Big ups for peanut sauce. Yeah, you know, that peanut sauce, man, let me tell you. Cause when I do it, when I make my own, it don't come out the way like, it don't taste like Thai peanut sauce. It's like peanut flavored sauce, but it's not, it's not Thai peanut sauce. It's a different thing. All right. I think I answered everything. It's time for me to go and take a shower, get ready for bed. You said it's all good. I know, I trust you. Yeah, like if I talk about it on stream, I had to put the work in first because I got to test the durability. I can't just be coming out here just saying stuff. Do this. And then folks be like, yo, I did what he told me to do. That's nasty as hell. I did not like that. I don't want to be putting out no nastiness. Favorite dish to make with rice? I got a lot of rice too. I've been hitting the rice. I've been on a rice kick. I love rice. You understand? Like if I'm trying to gain weight, I'll eat rice though. Because I can eat a lot of rice. So basically what I do with rice, for me personally, what I do with rice is I'll just make rice and I do lentil sauce over it. Or I'll do like chickpea sauce, like curry chickpea sauce. Y'all see me make my sauces on stream, right? So my spicy tomato, pinto bean, like this one right here. Yo, this is about to be for, this is gonna be for tomorrow. So this is pinto beans, and I seasoned it with tomato paste, taco seasoning, paprika, cumin, cayenne pepper, sea salt, raw sugar, nutritional yeast, garlic powder, and basil. This right here, basically I pour it in the pot because I don't put anything in the microwave. I don't really use the microwave much. So I take this. Where's the pot? Oh, it's in the sink. So I take this, pour it in the pot, dice up some peppers, onions, mushrooms, all that, leafy green vegetables. I'll smash up some kale, remove the stems, and then put that in the pot, kind of stir it around a little bit, let it soften up and cook down just a little bit so it can get warm, and then pour that over the rice. That's my jam. That's how I do with the rice. That's how I choose to live my life when it comes to that rice. You said, Coach, eat everything with rice. You know what? My mind was blown when I saw that people eat mango and rice together. And I was like, yo, why would you mix fruit with rice? But apparently it works. I'm not there yet, though. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'm gonna do all of that. When I eat fruit, it's just the fruit by itself. I don't really like mixing it with other things. But you know what? When I become a more sophisticated adult man, right there, yeah. So when I become an adult, when I grow up and be more sophisticated, I'll start mixing fruit and rice and all of this. But right now, I'm gonna keep it simple. Simplicity is solid stuff. You can't go wrong with simplicity. People make pineapple bowls with rice. True, yeah. People mix pineapple with rice and mango with rice. Because people make like a mango pineapple sauce and they pour it over rice. I've seen that. Yeah. Mango and pineapple in a smoothie together tastes amazing. Mango pineapple is a really good combination. I rock with that for sure. All right, y'all. Let me go take my shower. You know what I mean? Let me tuck in for the night. I don't want to be too late. I'm always talking about getting to bed at a decent time and then be keeping y'all up here all night. I appreciate everybody tuning in, coming hanging out with me, asking some good questions, chopping up. Y'all know how we do every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, so for those of you tuning in on YouTube, I'll catch you next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And for everybody in the Tribe by Noir community, all the newcomers, I will see y'all Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And Thursdays are a lot of fun. We all have a lot of fun. We get to meet everybody and talk and chat with everybody, get a little Q&A going, crack some jokes. I do a little stand-up, right? Give everybody some chuckles, right? So it's a lot of fun. So I'll see y'all then. And be well, everybody. Get some rest, all right? Mama do. Oh, yeah, you don't want me calling you that no more. That's going to be a hard habit to break. Good night, y'all. Have a good one.